Since the Paris attack, 230 some odd Syrian refugees have been accepted into this country. One is a Christian. One is a Christian. People are wondering, how does this happen? If that is the minority in that country that is being persecuted, perhaps even to the point where we're starting to hear genocide, how does the administration have some sort of a game plan? I heard the United Nations is in charge of that.
Well, first, again, as you just mentioned, we're talking to the point of possibly genocide. I wouldn't use that word, but maybe we are at that point. I'm not on the ground there. But if it is to the point of possibly genocide, why would you want to have an edict, as Donald Trump has issued, that says no one can come from that country simply because there are bad guys in there? We know that. But why would you stop people who might be the victims of genocide from being able to escape that? That's the craziness of what Donald Trump has said.
The risks are too high. We don't know the good guys
Tell me
from
what
the
a
bad
six-month-old
guys.
child, Charles, will do to Americans.
Do you know the good guys from the bad guys? Can you stand on the border of Mexico and let Syrians come in and say, this one's good, this one's bad?
Are you telling me that a six-month-old child is a danger to Americans?
They don't come alone. I mean, listen, you want to let a six-month-old child in by themselves? Who takes care of this kid? It sounds like it just doesn't make sense. That argument it's such a disingenuous argument. We're talking about adults. We're talking about an American public that is very visibly shaken by this whole thing.
Let me see if I can agree with you one place. If that mother of that six-month-old who is trying to escape possible, as you said, genocide, can't pass vetting, then I agree with you. The mother should not be allowed to come. But if the mother can pass vetting, the checking process, and we find nothing is wrong with that mother and her intentions with America, why would we want to deny that mother a chance to escape the sure death that awaits her if she stays in Syria?
So let's take our agreement one step further. Okay. Cpayne Malik passed the current vetting process. She should not have. Perhaps we should redo the process before we let any more in.
Maybe we should, but she didn't go through the refugee process, Charles. Get them straight. They're two different things. Okay?
I get you. The point is, though, is that
her entry into the U.S. with the entry of refugees into this country, and those are two very different things. In order to come into this country as a refugee, as you know, it takes up to 2 years of checking, inspections. The way she came in through the spousal visa is very different. Maybe we have to have a more rigorous process to check that as well, and maybe we can agree there. But don't equate the two things as the same thing. And she was not escaping death, persecution, rape. Refugees must, in order to qualify, prove that they are trying to escape death, persecution, rape, those types of things. So that's where, Charles, I think it's so important for the American public to understand. We're not just saying let anybody in. It's got to be someone who can demonstrate that they've got this true fear of death, persecution, things like rape, torture, in order to be able to qualify.
Yeah,
and then they still have to go through the checking process.
I don't think we're there. I think that you can say, hey, I'm afraid of persecution, and you can slip in as the bad guy or girl right now, and I think this is a problem that too many people feel. Overwhelmingly, the public disagrees with you on this, and I don't understand why you won't say, hey, maybe we should at least look at the program. You throw out 2 years like it's a big deal. Maybe it should be a 4-year program.
I've already said that. I'm willing to look at any one of the programs. I was willing to vote in favor of having a more rigorous inspection process for the visa waiver program, because the visa waiver program essentially says that you are granting people essentially a fast-track process to come into the country because of the country you're coming from, France, England, and so forth. But no doubt, Charles, I agree with you. We should take a close look at the entire process that we have for allowing people to come into the country. But don't try to equate the refugee admissions process, which is the most rigorous out there, with something like the spousal visa process, and certainly not the visa waiver process. Essentially, the visa waiver process says exactly that. The U.S. waives the need to have a visa for these individuals to come into the country because they're coming from countries that we have good relations with. So there's a very different thing. We could probably agree on what you have to do inspections. But don't deny people who are in fear of death, have proven fear of death.
We should remind the audience that homegrown terrorism in the West was largely responsible for the Paris massacre. Virtually all of those folks probably could have gotten on an airplane in Belgium or France and flown over here without any kind of hassle whatsoever.
That's the visa waiver program you're talking about. And by the way, why have someone who's on the terrorist watch list be able to buy a gun here in the U.S.? Let's do more rigorous checking to make sure no one gets their hands on weapons as well, to do what we've seen happen in places like San Bernardino. I think we can agree, I hope we can agree, that a 6-month-old is not going to go out and try to buy a weapon to kill Americans, and we should not deny a 6-month-old a chance to come into the country.
Argument, because we're not talking about 6-year-olds. We're talking about adults, primarily fighting-age men who are asking to come into this country,
Charles,
and who are here to commit acts of violence.
Now you're really moving away from the real argument, because no one is saying a man of fighting age should be able to come in through the refugee process simply because he or she may be coming with a spouse or a child. Those are the people who have least gotten a chance to come into this country. The vast majority, almost all the people who have qualified for refugee status coming from places like Syria are women, children, and older people who are not fighting age.
And would you be willing to make it official? Would you be willing to make it official that fighting age men should be completely barred, like Canada did?
You know, I think there's a reason for us to look very closely at what we would do with men who are of fighting age. But to just do a blanket because we don't like the thought that's not the way America does it. We don't discriminate. We try not to discriminate. You should know that. And what we try to do is make sure we're making decisions based on good hard evidence, and not because we don't like the way you look or the way you sound. We have a right to take a closer look at you if we don't like certain things about what we see about you, but that doesn't give us a right to say we discriminate against people in this country.
What we're saying, though, is that people who are coming from a very dangerous part of the world where our enemies have an extreme amount of power, and we know that their goal is to export that terror to our country, we should be a lot more vigilant about that. What we're saying is that our political correctness resulted in us not taking down hijackers on airplanes, not vetting people before 9/11 properly.
Charles, stop, because you had me 100%. You had me at a low on that last comment. Let's agree. Let's agree.
Okay, let's leave it there. Okay. Congressman Becerra, thank you very much. Hope you come back soon.
Good to be with you.
All right.